If you're a working professional in India, get ready, because pretty much everything about your job is on the verge of a major transformation. We're talking about your salary, your work hours, even your job security. The old rulebook, it's gone. So let's dive into this massive overhaul of India's labor laws and figure out what it all means for you. Now, this isn't just some small tweak. This is a full-blown seismic shift. Just try to imagine this for a second. For decades, we've had this tangled web of 29 different, often conflicting labor laws. Well, all of that has been boiled down into just 4 new codes. The scale of this change is absolutely massive, and it's going to affect every single workplace, from the smallest startup to the biggest corporation. So why this huge revolution? Well, the official thinking behind it was to cut through decades and decades of legal red tape. The whole idea was to create a system that's more modern, much simpler, and way more efficient. But what do these new codes actually cover?
Okay, so the core idea is pretty straightforward. Consolidation. Instead of having dozens of laws that sometimes even contradicted each other, everything now neatly fits into 4 main buckets: how you get paid, the relationships at your workplace, your social security net, and of course, your health and safety on the job. In theory, it's a move from total chaos to some real clarity.
Now, for employers, the big promise here is a huge reduction in paperwork. I mean, think about going from multiple registrations down to just one. The codes also give companies a lot more flexibility. For example, firms with up to 300 workers can now make decisions about layoffs without needing prior government approval. That's a big jump from the old limit of 100. And you know that coordinated mass casual leave, that gray area? It's now officially defined as a strike, which gives employers a much clearer way to respond.
All right, so what's in it for the employees? On paper, some of these changes are pretty significant. The minimum wage is now supposed to cover everybody, and that includes gig and platform workers. If you're in a fixed-term contract, you're now eligible for gratuity after just 1 year, not 5. Big difference. Health insurance coverage is being expanded, and there are new rules for health checkups. And in a major move, women can now work night shifts, as long as they consent and there are proper safety measures in place.
Looking at it like that, it kind of seems like there's something for everyone, right? Simplicity for businesses, more protection for workers. But this is exactly where the story gets really complicated, because these new codes have kicked off some incredibly intense debate and raised serious concerns from unions, legal experts, you name it. You see, the criticism isn't just about what's written in the fine print of these laws. It's about the entire process of how they were created and what that might mean for the balance of power between employers and employees. And this quote here from the legal commentary platform The Leaflet really cuts straight to the heart of the issue. The main criticism isn't about a few problematic rules. It's this feeling that the entire foundation is rushed, that it wasn't democratically debated, and that it could end up being harmful to workers' rights. So a huge point of conflict is how these laws came to be. Critics point out they were basically pushed through Parliament with almost no debate. They argue that expert recommendations were brushed aside and that the old system of labor inspections has been watered down into this much weaker inspector-cum-facilitator role. But maybe the biggest worry of all? That far too much power has been handed over to the executive branch, allowing huge changes to be made by simple notification, completely bypassing any parliamentary debate. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. What are the specific flashpoints? These are the rule changes that are actually going to impact your paycheck, your job security, and what your day-to-day work life looks like. Let's look at fixed-term employments. On the one hand, this looks like a huge win. People on fixed-term contracts now get the same pay and benefits as permanent staff, including that gratuity after just 1 year. But, and here's the catch, when that contract ends, the employer doesn't have to give any notice or termination pay. The fear is that this will just encourage companies to hire people on short-term contracts over and over, essentially creating a gig economy inside the formal workforce. Okay, this next one is going to hit you directly in your bank account. The new codes say your basic pay must be at least 50% of your total compensation. Now, for a lot of people, this is actually going to boost their Social Security contributions, like to your Provident Fund. So the good news is you'll have more money saved for retirement. The potential bad news, it might mean a smaller take-home salary every month. It's a really fundamental change that's forcing almost every company to rethink their salary structures. And here's a big one. In a huge nod to our post-pandemic world, work from home is now, for the very first time, officially recognized by the law. This formalizes a reality for millions of us. The only problem, the legal framework around it is surprisingly thin.
And this slide really puts those concerns into focus. First off, the official work-from-home rules only apply to service sector companies with over 300 employees. And even then, it basically leaves everything up to an agreement between you and your boss. There are no minimum legal standards for who pays for your internet or your equipment or how your working hours are managed. And to top it all off, as of right now, you can't even claim special tax deductions for all those home office expenses.
So where is all of this headed? These new codes aren't the end of the story, not by a long shot. They're really just the beginning. The world of work is changing faster than ever, but we are seeing signs of what could be coming next. Just take a look at this idea that's being debated, a right to disconnect bill. Can you imagine? This would give you the actual legal right to ignore that late-night email or that weekend call from your boss without getting in trouble for it. It's a direct challenge to that always-on work culture. And as work from home becomes legally entrenched, the battleground for work-life balance shifts right into our own homes, making a law like this more relevant than ever. So, here's the rollout plan. The codes themselves were passed way back in 2020. Those key salary rule changes are slated for late 2025. And the big goal is to have everything fully implemented by April 2026. At the same time, we're seeing other policies, like extending hybrid work models in special economic zones, all pointing towards this slow but definite shift in how and where India works. And so, at the end of the day, we're left with this one fundamental question. Is this the bold, modernizing reform that India needed to attract investment and create a flexible workforce? Or have these codes, in the way they were designed and rushed through, tilted the scales too far in favor of employers, creating a system that's great for business, but incredibly precarious for workers? The real answer? Well, that's going to unfold in every office and factory across the country over the next few years.